Katika mwezi mmoja ama miwili ambayo imepita, tumeona hao wakora wameanza kutatiza amani. Tumesimamisha huo utaratibu kwa muda kidogo. Kwanza kabisa tushughulikie hao magaidi, tuwafurushe, alafu tutafungua mipaka yetu.
Now, residents in the northeastern region have been assured of their security against Al-Shabaab terrorists as they go around their businesses anywhere in the region. Speaking after meeting the Regional Security and Intelligence Committee, Northeastern Regional Commissioner John Otieno said that the government has put in place necessary measures to deal with the history of terrorist attacks in the north. The Regional Commissioner has also reiterated the government's commitment in securing all learning institutions and teachers to make sure that learning is not interrupted in any way.
Tuko na habari ya kwamba baadhi ya wale ya sababu ambao wanaoperate kwa wakati huu ni wa kutoka region hii, wako katika mstari wa mbele kusaidia wale ambao wanatoka katika nchi jirani, na tunawaweka kwa notice ya kwamba tutawashaka, tutawapata na tutawashughulikia kisheria. Hata Al-Shabaab nataka niwaeleze, tutawashaka na tutahakikisha ya kwamba tumewashughulikia kulingana na sheria ya nchi hii.
Now to Turkana County, the Turkana Governor Jeremiah Lumurkai has yet again been accused by West Pokot County leaders of inciting his county residents to attack West Pokot residents. In a joint meeting, Kacheliba Member of Parliament Titus Lote, his Sigor counterpart Peter Lochakapong, Kapenguria Member of Parliament Samuel Moroto, and Seker Ward Representative Jen Mingich have called on the Interior CS Kithure Kindiki to take legal action against the governor. Last week, 4 Pokot residents lost their lives after they were ambushed by unknown bandits on the border of West Pokot and Turkana counties.
Tunapoongea siku ya leo, jana tumesika watu wawili ambao waliuawa na Turkana. Waliuawa kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu wao walikuwa ni Wapokot na wanachunga mifugo yao. Mpaka sasa, Bwana Waziri, hakuna kitu imetendeka. Hatujaona wale ambao walikuwa ni wale ambao walikuja kuua kama wamechukuliwa hatua. Bwana Waziri Kindiki, nakumbuka mabunduki yalipokuwa yanalia, mimi nilikupigia simu siku kupata, nikakuandikia harafa, nikaandikia commandant wa GSU. Bunduki ikilia kabla wale watu kuuawa, ilikuwa ni saa 7. Saa 9 askari hata mmoja hakuna yule ameingia pale.
Huyu gavana lazima akomeshwe, na mtu ya kukomesha huyu gavana ni serikali, kwa sababu huwezi kutoa matamshi ya uchochezi na watu wakipigana, wewe unakaa, watu wanaumia na kwa sababu ya mambo yako. So kwa sababu juzi nilisikia akisema Lami Nyeusi ni sehemu ya Turkana, Akula ni sehemu ya Turkana, ile Silale ambayo iko Tiari ni sehemu ya Turkana, na akasema kama bado anaishi hakuna mtu ataishi hapo, na tayari ile sehemu ambayo anataja Wapokot tayari wako hapo.
Nataka kukuambia tena gavana wa Turkana, umeongea, lakini nataka nikuhakikishie matamshi yako iwezi enda bure. Ni lazima uwekwe ndani unless atuishi Kenya. Na sheria ile ile sheria ambayo tuko nayo Kenya hii, nafikiri ni sheria ambayo inafaa kukugovern pia. Wewe unaongea kama mtoto mdogo sana. Uwezi sema ati West Pokot karibu a quarter of West Pokot ni Turkana County.
Governor ya Turkana anasema hiyo ni area yangu. Hiyo ni area yangu. Hakuna mtu amechukua area ya mtu. Kama ni area yako kuna sheria. Lakini askari wale wako, hata wale wako Kainuku, hata wako wapi, wanachunga wananchi wa Kenya.
The Council of Governors has pledged support to needy children across the country. The governors plan to achieve this by increasing their budget allocation to serve the basic needs of these children in the next 2 fiscal years. This was announced during this year's devolution conference, or Children Devolution Conference, that seeks to provide a platform for children to interact with their governors and ask pertinent questions about county management.
Council of Governors sat down and decided to empower and amplify our voices So I would like to urge you, my fellow children, to be vibrant and speak out. If you have any issues, any questions, any concerns, forward.
What is being done or will be done by the government to ensure that children access education well?
As government, we pay on average around 22,000 for every child. For those who are going to boarding schools and they do not afford, we also make sure that we look for opportunities for scholarship, for bursaries. 2 is investing in the necessary human capital who are our teachers. 3 is making sure that the instructional materials, what is required in terms of books.
These ideas, which I assure you, the 47 governors of Kenya will take into account and try to implement, do their very best to implement in the next 2
Now, let's take a look at what is happening on the newspapers this morning. I've got 3 of them with me, the Daily Nation, the Standard, and the Star. Indeed, quite intriguing topics, follow-ups on just what has been happening across the country, as well as reports from the World Health Organization. Now, I'll begin off with the Star, which says, study, a cesarean section in Kenya breached WHO limit. The cesarean sections in Kenya breached the World Health Organization limit, and it raises prospect over procedure or overuse of procedure, which carries risks of babies and moms, and that is a story that is on page 4. Alarm as cabinet or the C-sections births in the country exceed WHO's limit. Now, counties with the high rates of CSs, a cesarean section, which, you know, there are 2 ways a woman can give birth, which is the normal delivery, as well as the cesarean section. So that is what we are talking about. Now, counties with high CS rates include Kirinyaga at 40%, Kiambu at 33%, Tharaka Nithi at 30%, Nairobi 28%, Taita Taveta 27%, Kajiado at 23.3%, Makueni at 22.5%, Meru at 23.3%. Now, counties with the lowest CS rates are at 2% in Wajir County, Turkana County at 4%, in Mandera at 3.7%, and in Samburu 5%, as well as Marsabit 6%. Now, the extremely high rate of cesarean section births in 19 rural counties is already raising concerns. In total, the WHO says 19 counties have already breached its limits, which recommend the limit at 15%. So basically, the WHO says, you know, every county, when performing CSS, it should not exceed 15%. But as you can see, Kirinyaga is at 40%, so which means it's 25% higher than the limit. Now, this raises prospects of overuse of the procedure, which carries risks for both moms and babies. Now, the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, also complains hospitals may be pushing some women into CS births because the surgery generates more money. The insurer paid 621 million shillings for C-sections in 2016 to 2017, jumping to 1.5 billion in 2018 and 2019. Now, in 2019-2021, the figure rose up higher when the NHIF paid hospitals 2.5 billion for C-sections, which accounts for 44% of NHIF maternity's costs of 5.6 billion shillings that year. So there's a worry that it could not just be about whether or not the mother actually needs a CS, but about what the hospital profits or what it benefits. And so that is the latest report that is on the Star, on top of the page. As well, Lawmaker Mbai released on 50,000 Kenyan shillings bond. That is the story that was just on air in a few minutes ago. Nimrod Mbai, the Kitui East Member of Parliament, released on bond. Shakahola death field is owned by the government. Now, the government yesterday was again pushed into a tight corner over the Shakahola cult deaths. As it was revealed, the state was firmly in charge of the land where the starvations and deaths occurred. Paul Mackenzie headed the cult, and the state has been criticized for lax security and not monitoring the forest properly. So that is what is on the Star this morning. Now to the Standard newspaper, teachers' new pay demand as 20,000 jobs up for grabs. Teachers' new pay demand as 20,000 jobs up for grabs, pushing their luck after the government announced a 45 billion shillings pay rise for government workers, which includes teachers. Unions are now demanding to reopen talks with the Teachers Service Commission to review the existing CBA agreement, even as the tutors' employers advertises thousands of new jobs. NAT Secretary General says, we are happy with President Ruto's recent pronouncement, which will open a window for fresh negotiations. I know we will strike a deal and strengthen the CBA for 2021 to 2025. Now, Kupet Secretary General Akelo Misori says, in light of President's announcement, we wish to request for an urgent meeting to reopen negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement, even as the Teacher Service Commission has advertised 20,000 jobs for teachers, 18,000 for junior secondary school interns, and 2,000 for primary schools. Now, what the junior secondary school teacher interns will earn compared to 15,000 for their primary school counterparts is 20,000 Kenyan shillings, and the amount of salary increment earmarked for teachers, it is split into 9.1 billion shillings in a year, 8.7 billion next year, according to the SRC. So teachers demand new pay as 20,000 jobs are up for grabs. Top of the page as well, exiting stage, why Raila is still the man to watch. President Ruto and allies are lining up a raft of strategies to push Odinga into political retirement, but this is unlikely anytime soon, as the Premier leads supporters for another showdown, which is the Sabah showdown, which is on Friday, tomorrow, as it is expected that they will be holding that meeting at the Kamukunji rally. So exiting the stage, the Standard reads, why Raila is still the man to watch, as he still controls such a big number of voters, and Kenya Kwanza's missteps embolden Raila liberation spirit and excite his support base. Top of the page as well, slap exposes ghosts of Kenya Power and Faith's Budapest promise, as she is crowned the sports personality of the month. Now to the Daily Nation, court deals Ruto a blow on new taxes. Hold your horses. The High Court has extended orders blocking the implementation of the Finance Act 2023 for another 5 days, in a move that will see the taxman fail to collect up to 5.78 billion. Even as Okia Omtata trained his guns on the EPRA boss. So court has ordered the government not to implement the Finance Act of 2023, which he already signed into law, even as Okia Omtata is the petitioner who filed that case in court. So as it is expected, the fuel prices that had been reviewed should not be up. It is also expected that if it is not up, subsequently Matatu owners should not hike fares. And so hold your horses. High Court extends block of the implementation of the Finance Act 2023. Senator Okia Omtata wants the court to punish EPRA Managing Director Daniel Kiptoo after the agency adjusted fuel prices upwards despite being served with the court order. A village mourns the ones we lost. We're united in grief and sorrow These deaths have numbed us all, says Paul Kirui, a resident of Londiani, summing up the feeling of horror after Friday night's accident that left 52 people dead. Kirui's Londiani village in Kipkelion East lost at least 15 people in the tragic crash, and their faces are on top of the page. Young people as well as the elder ones who were unfortunately the victims of the Londiani accident, which claimed 52 people. Kipkelion East Village mourns the death of 15, and we do condole with the families and friends as well, and wish quick recovery to all those who have been injured. Teacher Service Commission advertises 20,000 posts for intern teachers in primary and the junior secondary school, as Treasury to go after counties over unpaid statutory deductions, reopening of Somalia border to be delayed, and crime warden who faked the rescue of a girl he defiled has been jailed. So those are stories making headlines across the newspapers. Now, at that point, allow us to take a quick breather. But when we come back, we'll be having a very interesting conversations on the state of our families. We talk about the state of the nation, the state of the economy, but what about our families back home? Even as the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics released a recent report on the Kenya Demographic and Health Survey. Quite intriguing report was, released on just the polygamous marriages decreasing, as well as the marriages and who are heading our families back at home. So that conversation will be coming up next. I'll be joined by Victor Otieno, a counseling psychologist, who can perhaps explain to us the behavioral changes from a counseling psychologist perspective. So that conversation on state of the families comes up next. Stay with us.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
One would ask, who is God of the Bible? Where did the world come from? Is man basically good? What is the hope of man after this life? Is Jesus God? What does the Bible really say about Christianity? How did God come to exist? Is the Bible really the Word of God? This and many other questions on religion need answers. Join teachers of the Word and theologians every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. on the program Bible Theology Show, where all your questions will be answered, only on EBN TV.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe, watazamaji wa EBN. Kwa majina naitwa Pastor Julius Mutuko, na nataka kukaribisha kwa kipindi ambacho tutakuwa tukisikiliza neno la Mungu kila siku ya Ijumaa na Jumamosi kuanzia saa 3:30 jioni hadi saa 4:30 kila siku kwa lisali moja, na hivyo tukiangazia true worship ama kuabudu halisi, ambapo tukiangalia Biblia kitabu cha Yohana 4:23-24, Yesu alipokuwa akiongea na mwanamke Msamaria alimwambia, wakati unakuja ambapo watu watamwabudu Baba katika roho na kweli, kwa maana Baba ni roho, ama Mungu ni roho, na yuwatafuta watu kama hao ili wakamwabudu. So John nami tukaweze kujua kuabudu halisi ni nini kwa siku hizo. Karibuni nyote in Jesus name. Asanteni.
Through the morning rush and the buzz, find a voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Dika. Rise and shine, folks. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV.
Faith for today is a show to just look at what is going on in your life and what needs the intervention of God in your life.
Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the proof of things we do not see.
We are here for you. We are not here only for ourselves.
We are live every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 a.m. We boost your faith.
It is time to revive your faith.
Faith is for now, faith is for today. God has given us the breath of life.
Your faith today, live with Reverend Felix Kavoi.
Watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe, watazamaji wa EBN. Kwa majina naitwa Pastor Julius Mutuko na nataka kukaribisha kwa kipindi ambacho tutakuwa tukisikiliza neno la Mungu kila siku ya Ijumaa na Jumamosi kuanzia saa 3:30 jioni hadi saa 4:30 kila siku kwa lisali moja, na hivyo tukiangazia true worship ama kuabudu halisi, ambapo tukiangalia Biblia kitabu cha Yohana 4:23-24, Yesu alipokuwa akiongea na mwanamke Msamaria alimwambia wakati unakuja ambapo watu watamwabudu Baba katika roho na kweli, kwa maana Baba ni roho ama Mungu ni roho, na yuwatafuta watu kama hao ili wakamwabudu. So John nami tukaweze kujua kuabudu halisi ni nini kwa siku hizo. Karibuni nyote in Jesus name. Asanteni.
Through the morning rush and the buzz, find the voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Dika. Rise and shine, folks. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV. Now, good morning and welcome back to Morning Live. You are still here with us and we appreciate your valuable company. Now, before the break, I mentioned about the state of the families. So often than not, we'll talk about the state of the economy, we'll talk about the state of the nation, the state of politics. But do we put our families first as well? Issues that are very so dear to us, people that we spend our time with them on a day-to-day basis. What do we know about what is happening across our families? And the reason this is so important to have a conversation on is because recently the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics released a report on Monday, in fact, on the Kenyan demographic and health survey. So we'll talk about the demographic part and the families part so that we can understand the behavioral changes. What is happening? Is this something triggered by what we do on a day-to-day basis? What is triggering these changes in the marriages, changes in the leadership of the households? So that is a discussion that we'll be having this morning. And in studio, I'm joined by Victor Otieno, a counseling psychologist. Thank you so much, sir, for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and welcome. So perhaps we'll just get straight into it. The Bureau says a third of households in Kenya are headed by women, and in the rural areas, 36% of households are headed by women compared to 31% in the urban areas. So basically what it says, there's a trend now and more women are heading families. Not that men are not there or the fathers aren't there, the fathers are there. So generally what we've been witnessing for a long time is that even growing up in school, you're told who's the head of the family? The father is. So I mean, what is happening here? Can we try to understand, why does it seem that more women are now becoming heads of the families despite the fact that the dads are there?
Many reasons. Number one, women are getting empowered financially. That is, chances for women to go to school have increased. Many women are going to schools, getting jobs. So for some people, not the largest group, but for some people, someone might not see the reason to get a man since they are now able to take care of their family as a lady. Two, we have issues of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, especially in the rural areas. We have some parts of the nation where very many men are destroyed. They are not able to rise up to do what they are supposed to do as men. So in such a case, a woman will have to rise up because a woman will find it very hard to run away from her kids. We also have the issues of divorce, divorce. I've mentioned alcohol. And then there is the phenomenon of very many women being kept as, they call them side chicks or mpango wa kando. So let's say a lady gets a baby with a married man who may not be willing to declare them as an official wife.
Yes.
So in that case, that woman will be the head of her family. So those are some of the reasons why that's happening.
So we understand the reasons. Women are being empowered. There are drugs and alcohol abuse in place where fathers have their sort of divided attention. They don't know whether to focus on families or on their personal leisure. So what now happens to the fathers, because the children, of course, are watching. They might not say it, but they're watching. They're always watching. So now what happens to the fathers? Does it take away the masculinity at the home?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. We find so many studies have been done in the US that children who grew up without their fathers, a majority of them end up in prison. US prisons full of children who grew up without fathers. So there is a place of the father, and if a child, especially a boy child, is going to grow up without a father, influence of a father, very few of them turn out right. I know people would like to argue this, but you see, you can't argue against data.
Yes.
So very few of the boys who grow up without their fathers turn out right. Also, it kind of psychologically prepares children, that as they are growing up, they don't need, to be in relationships. So it might be also a contributing factor to why some people just choose. You've had girls, as a psychologist, I've had girls say, hey, if marriage is what I saw my mom go through, then I don't need it, So it's not a good situation, but unfortunately, these families are increasing. Families where only the mother is there with the children. Some cases, children are even left alone. You know, like if the mother maybe passes on, or in a few cases where the mother runs, leaves the father and doesn't go with the kids. So children will grow alone, but it affects them. That's what I'm saying. It affects them.
Yeah. So you've talked about the US. Is Kenya heading that same trend? Does it feel like we are also going the same
yes. Oh yes.
Oh really?
Our country, Kenya, and many African upcoming countries, upcoming third world countries, we try to copy a lot what happens in the West. Like I mentioned, there are ladies today who, out of choice, decide that I'm not going to get married. I don't need a husband, but I need kids.
Yeah.
These are trends that were only common in the US.
Yes.
And they are gaining traction in our nation, and we are seeing them. So it's likely to the single-handed marriages, mother-headed marriage families are likely to increase. They are likely to increase. We have not even mentioned the divorce, where we have seen the rates increasing at an alarming rate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting that we copy so much from the West, and we are likely to also copy this trend where we have a lot of fatherless, I wouldn't say fatherless, families headed by mothers, because the fathers are there. There's a focus now by the second lady, Dorcas Gashago, on the boy child. So for a long time it is said, there's so much, girl child empowerment, women empowerment, calls for people to support and protect the girl child, almost as if we are forgetting the boy child. So is this one of those scenarios where we focus so much on women empowerment, we forget about the men who are the fathers, and so they feel, the attention is on her, there's so much funds, we even have a women enterprise funds just for women. So does it feel like we have neglected the males?
Definitely. The male child has been neglected, not only in the sense that they are not being mentored, they are not being empowered, but for I think almost 20-30 years now in Kenya, girl child has been empowered. Now let's go back to our grandmother's age. Our grandmother's age, girls were trained to be wives and to be mothers.
Yes.
Today, and this takes place even in a good intention of like empowering girls, but how many girls are really being trained to be mothers today? Girls are being trained to win at the workplace. They are trained to be CEOs. They are trained to be bosses.
Yes.
Now, the boy child has not been trained to handle an empowered woman. So a boy marries a girl today, all of them go to work. If this boy has not been empowered, if this boy has not been told what will happen when they marry a working woman, maybe the wife will come back even late than the man. The man can be coming back at 4, the wife will be coming back at 9. So if he's not been prepared to know that I'm going to marry an empowered woman, who will be going to work as much as me, sometimes more hours than me, so that presents a problem.
And you've mentioned quite an important point that I've picked. Boy child has not been trained to handle an empowered woman, because for men or for boys from an early age, they're trained to be, to sort of be the heads, to make the providers, to make decisions, to be the protectors. So at what point do they lose it? Because if this is someone who's been trained from an early age to be a provider, to be a protector, to be the head of the family, at what point are they losing it? And that's why we are witnessing this change of paradigm, for lack of a better word, where it's now the women who are coming up more. At what point are they losing this state of theirs?
I think we just need to change how we empower our young people. Like I mentioned before, the boy was expected to be trained to be a provider. Remember, the wife generally was just a nurturer in the home, but today the wife is going to work, so you can't only bring the money to the table, because you will even marry a wife who maybe is earning more than you. you know. So it can't only be the money you are bringing to the table.
Yeah.
So this man must be trained to be able to cooperate with the wife. They are supposed to, you know, to play a complementary role. But also on the other side, the empowered woman of today also, there is a need for a balance. You know, you can't just be chasing goals, because unfortunately by the way we also have poor mothers. Some mothers who don't care, they just leave children alone, you know. So we just have to change our approach. Why? Because today the wife is also working like the man.
Yeah.
In fact, so many people are entering marriages. They are entering marriages with maybe their classmates. You all leave the university at the same time, and you are dating and you get married. You know, so all of you are working. So you can't come with the same mindset which your grandfathers had, because they were the providers, and after provision, everything else was left for the woman.
Yeah.
Today the woman is in the office; she's not at home. Yeah.
Now, there's also the aspect of, you know, right from when you decide to get married and you go through the counseling part, whether it's spiritual counseling or through a counseling psychologist, both of you, the lady normally is taught to, you know, be submissive or to humble herself. So there's this career woman, very empowered, and she's trying to, you know, take that balance of, as much as I need to also find my own money, I also need to understand that there's somebody at home I need to, you know, be submissive to. Is that what is happening, really?
Yes. Like you know, it becomes worse if these people grew up without that traditional family of two parents. You know, because the best place a child will learn from is the parents. Now, you saw your parents not together. Maybe your father neglected your mother. You know, so you have no reference point. So, and that is why, by the way, that's why many divorces take place, especially among people who are educated, where the lady is educated, the lady is having an income. Most likely, that marriage, the chances of it surviving decreases. You know. So the breaking down of families we are talking about is not giving us, I mean, a reference point for our young people who are getting married today. Yeah.
Okay. Now that we're talking about empowerment, so what do we do to ensure that we still have fathers as the heads of families? It is not wrong for a woman to be a head of the family, is it? It is not. But now, the sort of family setup that a young child needs is to understand that, you know, there's a dad first, there's a mom, and then there is me. So what do we do now to ensure that we have that balance where, as much as we're talking about women empowerment, we should also talk about men empowerment, so that let the fathers just remain the heads of the household? So what empowerment should we do?
Now, what we need to do is let parents realize that children need the parents. I know there are cases where a mother maybe loses the husband through death, you know, through divorce, you know, or a mother just got a baby without being married first. So what we do in this case is try to get a father figure. You know, a father figure can be any respectable male, maybe an uncle, maybe a grandfather if the lady is still having a father around. Let the child, I mean, grow up knowing that this structure exists, because it provides balance to the child. You know, so don't just say, okay, I am alone, there's nothing I'm going to do about it. There are some males you trust. Of course, care need to be taken also. There are some males you trust, so that they see what is supposed to be there. You know, so that even where the case there's this case of where parents divorce, because this is another thing that is becoming very, very common. For the sake of the children, it would be important to find out how to co-parent. You know, co-parenting, like I mentioned, the US is something that's already working there. Kenyans are in the process, but they have not gotten it yet. Because marriages are so emotional that when, in case they break,
it's so difficult to co-parent.
People find it very hard to continue cooperating.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And so we've been, you know, talking about the statistics of the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, in case you're just joining us, on women being more in the families, or the the number of women heading families are now increasing. And that is why perhaps we need to talk about, as much as we're empowering the women, we're also empowering the men to ensure that they do not lose their place in the families and definitely not lose their place in societies. Now let's go to the divorce part. Victor, and you've mentioned about the divorce, and interestingly, the survey also covered on divorce, and it states that for women, the highest percentage of them, at 11%, are divorcing, while men it's just at 5%. For women, those who've never married are at 33%, and for those who are married or living with their partner is at 55%. For men, it's just 46% of them who are married, while those who've never married is at 48%. But the divorce part is what is interesting, because it says more women would rather have that divorce than men. And, you know, it falls down to, if it's not working, who is the first to walk away? And it says, you know, it's the women.
Yes, most women will walk away. And like I mentioned, it is usually the women who are empowered. You know, I've heard also these people saying that, okay, our mothers, our grandmothers used to persevere. The truth is they didn't have a choice. So you could be married and your husband adds 5 other wives. And since, because, you know, remember then women had no land. You had no property of your own, so you needed a man to cushion you against, you know, I mean, economic problems. But now we have a woman who is having a job, who is having a business. So if things are not getting, you know, she's not getting what she believes she deserves, she has a choice of walking out because she can survive. Yeah.
And you know, divorce is such a critical topic in societies, because the parents will always say, you know, you can still persevere. What about your children? Churches also have a factor or a role to play on whether or not they support divorce. So how difficult is it to make that decision, keeping in mind that, you know, as much as you're not happy, what will your children do? We can't, or as a country, is still learning how to co-parent, which most of the time, you know, has its own disadvantages, but also about the church involved, the society involved. How difficult is it to make that decision of divorce?
It's difficult, but I'll still say it will only be difficult for people with no choice. You know, finances offers people choice, and information as well. There are cases where it would be for the benefit of those involved for divorce to happen. Let's say where violence is involved, for example. It's not safe for the people involved in it. It's not safe for the children. So in such a case, if the lady or the man has a choice of walking away, then so be it. So, and however, there are people who are still not going to walk out, because it takes us back to what? Choice. They don't have a choice. They will ask, where will I go after? You know. But those influences are there. But information and finances will give the people involved the choice, even though there's pressure from outside.
From where you sit, do you think the church supports divorce?
Of course, the church does not support divorce. However, we have had cases, you know, there's a popular gospel artist from Nigeria who was alleged to have been killed by the husband. Why? Because she believed in the sanctity of marriage. Everybody told her to walk out, she could not, you know. So in as much as I'm a Christian too, in as much as divorce is wrong, but if life is threatened, then the best thing to do is to separate, you know, go different ways, because you'd rather be divorced and alive than dead and married.
So then it brings in the religion part, doesn't it? Christians you know, are put in that difficult position on whether to choose divorce or whether to listen to their pastors who tell them, you know, you need to pray, you need to persevere, you need to know that this is a union that, you know, was before the altar, was, you know, bonded at the altar. So does religion play also a part on a decision to make?
It plays a part. You see, there's the religion bit, there's the wanting your child to have, you know, a stable family. Even though stable now sometimes become hard to define in a marriage which is breaking down already. So there's the society. What will people say? You know, what will my friends say? But it boils down to choice. Do you have the choice and information? Do you have information? Because remember, even the Bible say a married couple can separate for a while. You know, separate for a while. What does it mean? During that time, you find out if it can be worked out
or not.
Or not. Yeah. But we are believers. Would you want your child or your sister or your mother to be killed? You know, for example. So it's about information and then the choice.
Yeah.
Will you be able to stand after? Because many people, I've had to speak to some people who are divorced. Many people didn't want the divorce, but you see, it takes two to be in the marriage.
Yeah.
One person can't make it. You know, at the end of the day. So do you have the information and then do you have the choice? Yeah.
Yeah, so for men, you know, just 6% of them are divorced or separated. And I believe the ego is always, you know, in place here. And, you know, perhaps a man is embarrassed to tell his friends, you know, I separated from my wife, or, you know, my wife and I divorced. So there's also the issue of ego. And perhaps this is why there's a less percentage of divorce amongst them, wouldn't you say?
Reason why very few men will file for divorce are many reasons. One, men, the demands of men are always small.
What do you mean?
You know, as a man, you are trained to be a man. You know, to man up. You are trained to man up. So men enter marriage willing to stick it out. Okay, I'm not saying that they are perfect. But they have a mindset. When they enter marriage, they have a mindset of staying forever. Now, if maybe a man is not getting the things he's looking for in a marriage, some men will choose to cheat.
Yeah.
Okay? Some men maybe will numb themselves in alcohol. Okay? But they have this mindset because there's all this belief that if the marriage fails, you have failed as a man.
Yes.
So many men will stick it out than women. Unfortunately, women who have choice will walk out, by the way, today. A woman who has a job, who has a financial security, and has information, she will not put up with anything she doesn't like. Yeah, so that would be one. Number two, maybe, why the numbers are few, is men will not open up, you know.
Why so?
They will not open up. Or they can just choose not to divorce, but marry somebody, or, you know, have a side woman, you know. Because who wants the labels? The labels affect both men and women, by the way.
A divorcee.
Yes, many people assume it only affects women, even men. So he'd rather he stays there, he just moves on silently to the next family. Yeah.
All right. So, of course, Vicky are trying to explain just why a huge number of men would opt to just stick it out rather than to, you know, take the high road or the difficult road of divorce, because the divorce rate among men is at 5%, while for women the divorce rate is at 11%. Now, we've talked about the divorce part. So let's now come back to these marriages. Most women are married at 55%, and most men, the second, of course, is men at 46%. Those who've never married is at 33%, and those who've never married for men is at 48%. So the marriage factor now, it seems as if, according to what the statistics is showing, is that, okay, does this have something to do with the population of men to women, where, you know, women are more than men, according to the census report? Or is it something to do with just who is ready for that commitment?
Is by the difference between men and women are slightly higher, but not much. The difference is not that much. But the major reason why very few men compared to women are marrying is because of readiness, you know. It's expected as a man to marry, you have to be financially ready. You should be able to provide for your family, you know. With the lack of jobs we are facing in our nation, it will take averagely 5 years for somebody to secure a stable job after graduating. So I think that would be the major reason why many men are not getting married. Another reason would be the psychological reason. Remember, a child who grew up in a single parent-headed family, some of them witnessed trauma, their parents going through trauma. So some people, by the way, if it is not checked, we are having a generation that is growing very negative towards marriage. You know, there are these statements people drop online, you know, take few hours to fear women, take few hours to fear men, you know. Because people have just witnessed too much trauma, you know. So sometimes for some people, I know people, I've spoken to so many people who are telling me I'm not going to get married. Any reason, I just don't want it, you know. So that is also there. There's a psychological reason of what children witnessed when they were growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've talked about trauma, and the reason perhaps there's this a lot of sentiments of, you know, take few hours to fear men, take few hours to fear women, is because also people see what their friends or people close to them are going through. Not necessarily they should have gone through it themselves while growing up, but there's also the prospect of there's a friend, there's someone I know who is going through this.
Yeah.
But it all falls down to that cannot be just your story as well, because the paths are different, isn't it?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. We need to mentor a generation into knowing that it can be different. You know, we need to mentor a generation which will still admire marriage life. You know, we don't want our family, our societies to be broken down. Yes, people have gone through trauma when they were growing up. People have witnessed their friends disappointed. But it doesn't always have to end up like that.
Yeah.
And that is why services maybe like now counseling, you know, would help. Mentorship in local churches, local communities would help. There are still better marriages, by the way. There are still people having exemplary marriages. People have stayed in marriage for 40 years, 50 years, you know. So it doesn't have to end up that way.
Yeah. So from a psychological point of view,
Yeah.
Just as an example, Cynthia, I come to you as Victor, and I need your counseling services, and I say, you know, I'm so scared of marriage because I've seen people close to me who've gone through this, and I just don't want to walk down that same road.
Yeah.
So, you know, as a psychologist, how will you try to make me change my mind, you know?
You know, going through therapy will help you identify some of the reasons why you are afraid. You know, because fear don't just come from out of nowhere.
Yeah.
There is a reason. So when you sit down with a therapist, you will find out why. What is it that is making you afraid? And then those emotions, you will learn to deal with them. And then you know a man can be trained. You can train your subconscious to have a particular mindset, you know, so that you have a new view towards marriage. And once your view is corrected, yes, you'll just get married.
So it's all in the mind.
It's all in the mind, yes. Perception is formed by what you see, what you hear, what you have witnessed, what you have experienced, but it can be changed. Yeah.
So does this also include changing the environment? Like, you know, you're so much online. You see all these details online.
Yeah.
And so you from people you don't even know, just online, and you say, oh my God, I fear men. So, I mean, is that also something that perhaps most youths or most people need to change?
Yes, in changing your perception, you need to change your source of information. You know, the subconscious mind will accept what is fed to it. Now, if you feed yourself too much negativity, then you will start having negative emotions. You'll start having negative perception towards particular things. So, like we said in faith, you know, in faith, believe it. You know, believe it. See it in your mind before it happens. If you have believed I'm going to fail, you are going to fail. You know. So, they say there's this saying that you are the sixth of the 5 people who are around you all the time. Okay, so if you get all your information, the only information about marriage you get are from failures, then it will form your perception towards marriage, and you will enter when you have already failed before you started, because that is what your mind has told you. So yes, you can in working out your new perception, you might need to change the news you listen to. You might need to change the people you surround yourself with. You know, the things you consume. Yes.
Yeah. So we are trying to get over the point of trauma before we get into marriage. Now we are in it, and there's the issue of lifetime commitment now. As much as we will get to this point of getting married at 50% for both gender, assuming.
Yeah.
But now the question of for how long do we stay in marriage comes in place.
Yeah.
Because I've seen this trend. Young people as young as 20, as young as 21 say they're married, but they don't even get to 24 to 25.
Yeah.
So, you know, what is this? You know, is there an ideal age to get married? If so, then what should it be?
I wouldn't say there's an ideal age. The best time is when you are prepared. For a man, you need to be done with your education. You need to have a stable income.
So at 21, is this person
Not
ready to get married?
Chances are you are not ready. Even though, remember, we have these careers like policemen, army people, who at 20 you are already working, you know. But the truth is you are not ready. For many men, you are likely to be mature in decision making, you know, after the age of 25, you know, 25, 28. But I'm not saying that it is written anywhere that you need to be particular age, okay? But the truth is you need to finish school, college, you need to work a little bit and manage your life, you know. Manage your life, be able to train yourself to make decisions, to be able to manage your finances. For a lady, the same way, you need to be done with your schooling, you need to mature. There is a part of a lady's brain that they say develops from around the age of 25. So that she's making decisions as an adult, you know. But still, I'm not saying that, don't let no one quote that I've said that you have to be particular age, but you need to be mature. That is one. Now, number two, why many marriages will likely fail is people don't do research before it. People don't go through counseling. There's a very important part that is called premarital counseling. Many people don't do it. People meet people they like and they get married. Now, the reason I was saying you need to be mature first is people change as they grow. Let's give example with a woman. A woman, there's an age a woman will be making decisions based on excitement. Okay, there's an age a woman will be making decisions because when a woman gets married, emotional composition will change. When a woman gives birth for the first time, emotional composition will change. You know, when money problems come in, money challenges come in, like during COVID, last few years, many businesses, many jobs were affected. A woman's emotional makeup will change, you know. Now, so at least be mature. That is one. Number two, when you do premarital counseling, you find out, by the way, what this lady considers values in her life, what this man considers values in his life. There are these views, you know. Some of us come from communities where in a marriage you can live with your brother, your brother's children, your cousins, your nephews. Nowadays, remember, we have cross-cultural marriages. You are marrying someone who grew up in a family maybe alone, no, they were only two.
So he or she doesn't understand that.
Yeah. So, you know, things like premarital counseling will expose you to all this. What happens to this person who not only himself but his mother, his brothers and his nephews depend on him? Will you be able to manage it financially, you know? And there is the other person ready to be part of that union, you know? But you see, many times people you just meet someone out there, you like them, they are beautiful, they have a job, you get married, you know. Do this person believe in God, for example? We were talking about, you mentioned something about polygamy. Does this man believe in polygamy? Because if you don't find out, and then these things come along the way, and then we have a reason. So that's why you find that many marriages will break in the first 7 years. The first 7 years, many marriages will break. By the 7th year, the divorce has happened. So, but if you go through all these, in premarital counseling, then the chances, because at least you will make the decision, okay, this person, Akohivi, is like this. Now, do I want to go in or not? You know? Yeah.
So how important as well, I know you've mentioned quite a lot of factors to consider, but there's also the children factor.
Yeah.
How important is it to know whether or not your partner wants children? Two, how many do they want, you know?
You know, all those comes in the discussions before marriage, which many people avoid, unfortunately. You have a person who say, hey, we grew up without any child in our family, therefore I want to have as many children as possible. Another person is saying, hey, we were too many, I don't want even a child. So it's good to discuss all of it. Discuss the finances, discuss the expectation. What are the expectations for intimacy? Because again, you know, people have different drives. You know, if you don't discuss it, you don't know what you are expecting, and then you enter a marriage and suddenly you discover, hey, things are not what you expected. Yeah.
Now, we've talked about reasons why they may not work. So what should we do to make it work? You know, I know you said marriage for this first 7 years, it's a make or break moment.
Yeah.
So now we are already in it. Now with the partners, we are married now. So how do we sustain this marriage, you know?
Yes, we have to realize that marriage is continuous work. Is work.
Not a day's work, yeah?
Yes, it's continuous work. You don't leave anything to chance, you know. So have an open communication, you know, have maybe a couple that you trust, that can, you know, hold your hand, will be acting out like your mentors. The issue of counseling is something that has not been embraced much in our society, but maybe it is time people start involving, you know.
Why do you think so? Why is counseling not a big part?
Like I say, African men were trained to be man up, you know. If you are feeling sad, you are feeling stressed, be a man, you know. And a woman, you know, sometimes if she shares, you know, sometimes you don't know who you are sharing with. You share with your friend who goes about broadcasting. But if maybe we go to a counselor, maybe, okay, the reason maybe why many people have not embraced it maybe is the cost bit. Because the government is not providing them. Okay, I hear they are trying to put in a few counselors in the county hospitals, but not many. Like you'll find in a whole sub-county maybe 1 or 2, you know. So that's
who
not
is said
enough.
to serve 350 people.
Yes, not so much. So maybe the cost bit, but there are ways. People need to know that these things are available. I know CITAM Church, for example, has counselors that are actually offering the service for free. You know, many people are not aware. You know, and people who are able to pay for it should seek counseling.
Yeah.
And then mentorship, you know, a coach, a mentor that is holding your hand. You are sharing your problems. You are having an open communication forum. You are discussing, you know, at any given point. Yes, it will work.
Yeah. Now, there's also the issue that has really come out, and perhaps it alleges to, you know, sexual discipline amongst men and women. So the report has revealed that 19% of women have sexual intercourse with people who are not their partners, and this is for a period of the last 12 months, which is this year to last year, sometime in July, while 35% of men are also having sexual intercourse with people that are not their partner. Sexual discipline. You know, can you talk about that?
Now, this can be caused by so many things. One is you know, people falling out of love. Like in a marriage, because of many things that happen, you know, change in financial fortunes, change in having children, change in priorities, maybe demand for job, where one of the people married stays abroad working, you know, coming only home in once in a year, you know. So along the way, sometimes people fall out of love. Because of it, some people will cheat. Some people will also cheat because they have gotten tired of the marriage. They are no longer getting, you know, the benefit they used to get from the marriage. So they want out. So some people will cheat because they want out, so that it is discovered, so that they move on. Some people may also cheat for revenge. Maybe the other partner did something that you didn't like, or they cheated on you, and you wanted them to feel the pain you felt, you know. Some people will cheat because of opportunity. Especially men. Men will cheat because the chance is available, not because they wanted to cheat or anything. At the workplace, there's this person you always stay with behind for long hours. You know, that will make some people cheat. There are also people who will just cheat because maybe pressure, you know, everybody else is doing it in the office. Everybody else is doing it in their cycle.
So they also want to be part of it.
Yeah, let's say like this popular thing, you are going to Naivasha or whatever, you know. Everybody else is doing it, so you want to do it too.
Yeah.
So those are some of the reasons. There are many reasons, of course, but those are some of the reasons that will make people cheat.
Yeah. And you know, it's quite peculiar because for a lot of people, you know, it's just sort of like a moment of relapse. You know, it's just a moment of relapse. And then, of course, if you look at the statistics as well, so more men are doing it, you know, who they're lacking that sexual discipline as compared to women because, you know, yes, they're doing it with somebody who's not their partner, but they still, you know, would prefer to go back home, have food cooked with this other person and just, you know, be home. I mean, isn't that a dangerous thing to do?
By the way, why the research is showing many men is probably because many men are careless. Today, especially among the educated women, the rates of cheating are almost the same. They are almost the same today. But men are a bit careless. Women can keep secrets than men. Number two, the reason why maybe more men than women do it is men will cheat because opportunities are available, not because of not because they don't love their wives or families.
Yeah.
Many men who cheat, by the way, still love their family, and they will go back to them. Even for women now, the reason why they will try to hide it is because they will not like to lose their marriage.
Yeah.
That's why they are trying to hide it. So it gets back again to, are you disciplined enough? You know, are you disciplined enough to keep to your vows? Do you respect your partner enough, or do you what stakes do you have in this marriage? You know, what stakes? Because if you know if the stakes are too high enough, then you will be disciplined. And then also, which is also important, is that some people are not deriving their sexual need from their marriages. Some people are not getting, you know, like I give example of where a partner is overworking, working abroad, you know, working in another town, or sometimes working within the town but coming home late, leaving too early, you know. That emotional distance can also be the reason. Yeah.
So now the sexual discipline leads us to the polygamy part of it. Now, according to the reports, the number of polygamous marriages are reducing. So in 1989, the percentage was at 23%. In 1993 to 19%, 1998 16%, 2003 16%, 2008 13%, 2014 11%, and now 2022 it's 9%. So the polygamous unions are subsequently reducing. Is this a good thing?
I can't say it's a good thing or a bad thing, but maybe you can talk about why it's reducing.
So why is it?
Number one, we mentioned women are empowered today. So a woman might not be willing to stay in a polygamous marriage if she doesn't want to. Because she has a choice, she has income, she can actually survive. A second reason is many people are in urban centers, and in urban centers maintaining polygamous families is very, very expensive. Very expensive. But I remember when President Uhuru signed the act in 2014, where people made a lot of noise that is allowing polygamy. The truth is, it's very expensive, and very few people are going to be able to take care of more than one family, especially in towns where you have to pay for everything. Remember, in the village, in the villages, because many people used to live in the village a long time ago, in the villages you don't pay for water, you don't pay for house, you are farming your crops, you have your food crops. You know. In town you have to buy everything. So if you really are going to take care of them, then only very few people, only very rich people are going to maintain polygamous families.
And speaking of maintenance, you know, more marriages in the rural area will likely to have a lot of polygamous, or you know, will be in that polygamy state at 12% rather than the urban. So perhaps just proves the point that it is expensive to do it in the city.
In
yeah,
town.
because the cost of living is up, so you have to provide for all these people.
Yeah.
So it is more difficult. But also let's talk about the age factor, because apparently, men between the age to 45 to 49, not just men but also women between the age to 45 and 49 are the ones likely to be in polygamous state of marriages, because a 20-year-old wouldn't be able to sustain more than one wife.
You don't have the finances,
Yeah.
and most likely you are still in love. If you are married, you are still in love.
Yeah.
But you see, for men especially, they will add wives when the other wives, the other family, children have come in, and maybe their wife has grown. Grown in her career, maybe not giving him enough time, or the job of taking care of children is taking her away, But people are young, they are just married recently.
Yeah.
They are still in love.
Still enjoying.
Yeah, they are still enjoying. And then there's also the issue of finances, finances are hard. People are trying to save. Yeah.
So do we look at a trend where polygamous marriages might reduce just completely, because we are now at just 9%? So if we keep on going going this way, perhaps in the next 20 years they might be at 2%.
They will continue to reduce. Like I said, there's the women are getting empowered. Now, remember, the biggest reason why many women used to get into polygamous unions was because of survival. So, finances provide women with choice. So it means that in maybe the next 20 to 30 years, only women who want to be in polygamous marriages will be in polygamous marriages. So it will not be out of their choice. Then number two, also the cost of living is likely to continue rising.
Yeah.
So how many people can afford to marry 2 wives, 3 wives, 4 wives in Nairobi as it is, and take care of all the children? Taking them to the same schools, giving them the same care. And remember also the rights, women being able to access the rights. Because there were cases where people would someone marry the second wife, ignore the first family and the children. The children will even drop out of school. Now, because of rights, people will take you to court. You will take care of your children.
Yeah.
Even if you want to dump the mother, you will take care of the children. So if you have 10 children, will you be able to pay their school fees in the same, the same quality?
Yeah.
So the marriages will reduce. Yeah.
So, the report is quite extensive, 702 pages, so we can't cover everything, but we've really tried to touch a lot on the family's part and just, what each person has a role to play. So perhaps as we wind this conversation up, so what are our roles as women in families? What are the roles of a man in families to ensure that it's not just about 2 people, but because eventually the kids will come in play? So what do we need to do to ensure that before they come in play, we are at a point where we can say not perfect but very comfortable, and then when the children as well come into play, they will come into a family that is full of love, full of respect? So what are our roles as a man, as a woman?
I think the best order, by the way, is the order that was given by God. If you are going to be in a marriage as a man, be the head of the family. Being the head, you are providing example, you are a role model, you are taking care of your family, you are there so that the children are able to see how you are treating their mother, so that they learn this. And for the mother is a nurturer, a helper, They are the ones who are keeping the home, the ones making the home.
Yeah.
So if we can just keep to that order, despite women going to work, despite men facing challenges, if you want a family, at least be prepared. What does being in a family mean? What does it require from me as a man? What does it require from me as a wife? And then when we do that, then at least our children will find stable families to grow under. And then they will be better fathers and mothers in future.
Yeah.
And
the empowerment part, as well as they're still young, because perhaps there's a hunt now for empowering boy child as well, because it seems like a man is raised to just be headstrong, but eventually they also need some other sort of empowerment emotionally as well, and mentally speaking. So I'd love to give you the final word as we wrap it up. From everything that we've covered, from where you sit now, how are families doing in our societies? Are we doing quite all right? Are we slowly getting there, or there's still so much to be done as we wrap it up?
I believe there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done. The examples that we have seen growing up, our children today are seeing growing up, are not very good. It has informed those statements we are saying, people saying, hey, fear men, fear women, you know. So we need to do a lot. We need to encourage our people that marriage is still a good thing. Our churches, our religious organizations need to train, have strong training, strong units of families, so that our people grow up knowing that it is still doable, it is still a good thing. And let the boy children be mentored. Let us have so many clubs also as well, mentoring boys. I'm happy that there are a few people rising up already doing mentorship for young people. I hope this would increase, so that in the schools, in the communities, in the religious organizations, boys are being empowered, to survive in the 21st century as a father. The same we have been doing to girls.
Yeah. So, to survive in the 21st century as a father.
Yeah.
Wow, what a powerful way to end it. So thank you so much, Victor Otieno, our counseling psychologist, for coming in. We appreciate your insights on just how our families have been doing. In case you've missed the conversation, we've been talking about state of the families. Why is it that more women are becoming the heads of the family? What are the fathers doing? Why are they not taking responsibility? What do we need to do to impact them to go back to just what we normally are used to? We also had the opportunity to talk about, marriages, how to sustain them, what the roles of both the genders are in marriage, and then the divorce rate as well, why more women are accustomed to divorce rather than men. Also the issue to do with sexual discipline. You're married, so you should just stick it out with your spouses, for women as well. So that has been the conversation this morning on the state of the family on this Social Thursday. We do appreciate all those who've been watching. Emmanuel Mwita, we also have Julius Machanje, we have Nancy Faria, as well as Jack Masil. We appreciate your feedback that has been coming in. In case throughout the day you have got any questions, you can always keep the conversation going through our social media platforms, on our on these various broadcasts that we have been doing, and we'll always get the answers for you in due time. So I'd love to wrap it up at that point, but of course, coming up at the top of the hour is Your Faith Today with Reverend Felix Kavoy. You definitely do not want to miss that out. I'm Cynthia Nanjala. Do enjoy the rest of your programming. Have a fantastic day.